I just want to echo that. You're not alone. A lot of us have been through hell and come out the other side. I make the joke, I've been through hell so many times, my punch card's full. My next trip is free. My name is David Kiwi Magi, but everyone calls me Kiwi. And I coach. I coach couples and individuals who are high-level leaders. They're just burnt out. They got nothing left to give at their job. They got nothing left to give at home. And they feel like they're losing what matters most, their relationship with their spouse and maybe even their kids. And so we coach them to help them get back their energy and their presence so they can be powerful at work and present at home without sacrificing either one.
All right, welcome everyone to the One Moment Podcast. I am your boy and your co-host, KO, K-Dog, Kevo, whatever you want to call me, doesn't matter. Listen, we got a very special and distinguished guest on our show today, and I am loving this guy. Like, I wish we would have recorded what we were talking about, because I bet we spent a half hour just BSing around and talking about everything. I mean, he's got a lot to offer, a lot of great experience. But I need to start off with this, okay? There's no but and I need to start off with this. Today's episode, you might be triggered. If you are triggered, there is help out there. He is ex-military, so if he wants to share any resources during his time of talking, I'm gonna let him share some of those. The primary ones, of course, is 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline. You can also go to National Alliance of Mental Illness, NAMI, also for short. You can go to SAMHSA, which is also the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And if in the event of immediate need and you don't have access to a phone or can't make a phone call, you can also go to a local crisis center or a local emergency department. Please seek help immediately. Everything we talk about on the One Moment Podcast is educational and informational only. We create a safe space on this show and on this program for people to, share their stories, but also to give voice to people who feel like they don't have a voice. And that's the purpose of what we do and the reason why we do what we do. So listen, I'm not going to take up too much of this young man's time. But I just learned interesting name, Kiwi. I'm going to introduce him as Kiwi. Look, we got too many Daves and Davids and all that. We don't have enough Kiwi. But Mr. Kiwi, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic. Some days are better than others. Today happens to be one of those good days. And it is my pleasure and honor to be here with the One Moment Podcast. I know for those of you, he kind of gave a little intro, but I just want to echo that. You're not alone. A lot of us have been through hell and come out the other side. I make the joke, I've been through hell so many times, my punch card's full. My next trip is free. So I don't have to pay for the next visit. But I tell you what, I'm going to share some stories today. And if these stories are triggering, please forgive me. But I want you to know that you're not alone. People have gone through stories just like what you've gone through. And there's people out there. There's people like me. My name is David Kiwi Magi, but everyone calls me Kiwi. It's just easier. And you're right. There's too many Daves and Davids in the world. It really is. And I coach. I coach couples and individuals who are high-level leaders. They're just burnt out. They got nothing left to give at their job. They got nothing left to give at home. And they feel like they're losing what matters most, their relationship with their spouse and maybe even their kids. And so we coach them to help them get back their energy and their presence so they can be powerful at work and present at home without sacrificing either one. And so today, I just want to be here, share some stories, provide some encouragement, and be a blessing with everything we've got.
Man, I would have done a terrible job giving you an intro, okay? Listen, I read a while ago, when you bring on a guest speaker, and you're not, when the host is not the guest speaker, but you bring on a guest speaker to your own program, I read that you never let the guest speaker do their intro. You do the intro for the person. And I'm thinking like, well, since, when I read over it, I'm like, if I give an intro, I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to give them a terrible intro. So
Good,
I
man.
appreciate that.
I'm probably rare. I love public speaking. I can get booked as a public speaker. Insert thing here if you guys want to book me. That said, not everybody can do their own intro. I've just done it so many times. I did have one guy. I will give him that. He gave me an intro that made me sound like a demigod. And I was like, I love this. Like, I'm not that good, but I'll take it.
I love it. I love it. Wow. All right. So listen, we were talking about a lot of stuff, and I guess let's start with some of the darkest stuff, right? That you started to share right before we started the show. And that was in 2017. You had 11 people who you lost. So let's start there.
Yeah. January 2017. I get a phone call that nobody wants to get, and I rush home, and I'm standing outside my bathroom. And there's my wife sitting on the bathroom floor, bleeding out, holding our daughter in her hands. And she handed me our daughter. And there I'm standing there, holding our daughter in the palm of my hand. That's how little she was when she miscarried. And I'm standing there. And in that moment, I realized that it wasn't what I had that I had lost, but it was everything that never got a chance to live. The first steps, the bike rides, the walk down the aisle. Those dreams died in the palm of my hand. And this was a very scary day for me. Again, having lots of background in medical knowledge before I joined the military, I saw my wife, and my wife is kind of ivory, red hair, but she was pale white. And I was like, I'm going to lose my wife too. So I rush her to the hospital. We get there. They're giving her blood. They're trying to keep her awake. And I remember sitting there, holding my daughter still, praying, God, don't take her too. He didn't. She's alive and well. She's actually hanging out with her kids right now. We have more kids that we've had after that. But that moment was just the beginning. It was the beginning of what I call a year of hell. 2020, COVID, that was a big deal. Affected a lot of people. I lost some good friends in that. But 2017, that was awful. Every month, pretty much after that, in fact, 2 weeks later, my wife's cousin died in a terrible car accident. And just boom, did a boom, did a boom. It literally got to the point where I had a funeral about every month. I buried 11 people that year. And it got dark. It got really dark. I felt hopeless. I felt alone. And I felt like I was just not enough. My anxiety was so high that when my dad's caller ID showed up on my phone, I literally thought, oh, great, who died now? That went on for years, by the way. It took a long time before that anxiety went away. And at the end of the year, I got to the point where the nightmares were so bad that I didn't sleep. So I was compensating with copious amounts of caffeine. Do not recommend, by the way. But it started to affect my relationships around me, with my eldest son, with my wife, and with coworkers. I would just snap out in anger for no reason at all. One, I was just tired. But two, I didn't want nightmares of losing my daughter over and over again. And because of the intensity of how everything came back to back to back to back, I didn't really process the pain. I just said, yeah, pile it on. We'll deal with it later. And I kept shoving it down. Well, now it was reaching volcanic eruption. And so my wife said the awesome thing that I probably should have listened to the first time, which was, hey, you should go get some help. I was like, I don't need any help. I'm fine. But the truth was I did. I did need some help. And so I did. I went and I met with a military counselor, and her eyes got massive when I just unloaded the whole year of my story. And when the therapist's eyes get wide, you know it's been a lot. But she said something to me. She said, have you ever cried for your daughter? And I thought about that. And I realized, well, no, I hadn't. Because I had to get her to the hospital, ran her to the hospital. She almost died. Had to get home, had to get my kid. And then I had to take care of my kid because my wife had to physically recover. Losing half your blood's a big deal, right? And then 2 weeks later, had another funeral. And we just boom to boom to boom to boom. And it was like, no, I even shed a tear. Not that I didn't love my daughter. Obviously, the pain was there, but I hadn't processed it. And so the therapist told me something. She's like, you need to let it hurt. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But something had to change. Something had to change in me. And so I said, okay, what do I do? And she said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to get in your car and you're going to go drive somewhere, park it, and you're going to cry and just let it hurt. I didn't want to, but I was like, all right. So I told my wife, I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to drive. I'll be back. I get in my car. I didn't even leave the driveway. I kid you not. I can't make this up. I turn on the radio, and for those of you who haven't heard it, there's a country song called 5 More Minutes. It'll rip your heart out, tear it to pieces, put it back together, and then shove it back in your chest. I mean, it is a rough song. Well, that song came on, and I just started bawling. I cried so hard that I lost my voice for 3 days. As a public speaker, that's kind of bad, by the way. You don't want to do that. But I lost my voice for 3 days. But that was the beginning of my journey. And so throughout our discussion here, I want to share a few pieces of like your true value. It's a dollar bill secret. I want to share what really makes you shine like a star in the midst of everything else that you've got going on. So as we go through, I'll share more of my story. But I want you to know right here, right now, is the first step for me was allowing the pain to hurt. Once I did that, it opened me up to the possibility of healing. And it took me a year to do it. So don't feel like, hey, I got to do this right away. No, it takes time.
Wow. That as a therapist, when I hear something and I have no words or there's nothing that you can say, it's just like, wow, it's a lot. There's no words I can say to, to bring even any sort of closure besides, I'm sorry that happened. And yet I've learned as a therapist that even that is the same thing as beating a dead horse. And so I'm not going to say that. I'm going to shy away from that. Besides, wow, that is a lot. As you were talking, it reminded me, one of my favorite theorists. I don't know, for some reason, I'm stuck on this guy. I don't know. I mean, if the guy was right here in front of me, I'd probably worship the ground he walks on. All right. I ain't even going to lie, but his name is Viktor Frankl, and he wrote Man's Search for Meaning. And he talked about, his experience in a Jewish Holocaust camp. And one of the things that I really appreciate that, and it sounds like you went through this process, right? And what he theorized is that even in suffering, we create meaning, right? We create meaning through experience, creativity, and suffering. And so what he also talked about was during his experience in that Holocaust camp, those who maintained hope maybe had to change their perspective and views in life to maintain that hope and purpose and meaning in life, right? Regardless of, as long as they held on to something, right, and created that internal sense of purpose and meaning for them, those people were most likely to live until the end, versus individuals who lost hope and meaning, they were most likely to not make it to the end. And I say that respectfully and humbly because it was a horrible situation that occurred. And that's what it sounds like, that you went through a year of headache and then your therapist finally said, hey, you need to go let this thing, like, just let it happen instead of pushing it back.
Acknowledging it was the first step. I think the second biggest step for me was realizing my value hadn't changed. And I learned this from a dollar bill. Here, let me grab one. I actually have several of these stuck to my wall right behind my computer. But someone showed me this once. And for those of you that are watching the video, you can see what I'm talking about. For those of you that are listening, I have a dollar bill here, and it's ripped. And you have about 2/3 of it and the serial number. What's really cool about this dollar bill, if you think about it, when this dollar bill was made, like brand new, off the press, smelled good, right? It is the crisp bill. It was worth $1. As it goes through its life, maybe someone crumples it up, they put it in their pocket, it falls out of their pocket, it ends up on the dirt or in the gutter, somebody steps on it, somebody picks it up, and now it doesn't look as pretty, but the truth is, it's still worth $1. If you try to put it in the vending machine, maybe the vending machine rejects it, but it didn't take away its value. Just the vending machine won't acknowledge its value, but the value of $1 is still there. In fact, I fact checked this with a bank. Actually, I just went in like a couple of weeks ago and fact checked this to make sure my teaching is right. And I said, hey, if I take $1 and I rip it in half, I said, is this, and I hand them half $1. And I said, is this still worth $1? And they said, technically, as long as you have the serial number and like 2/3 of the bill, 51% ish, it's obviously the majority of the bill. They said, yeah, we'll actually exchange that for you for a brand new dollar. Yeah, which is super cool. And so if I take this dollar bill that's ripped and I go to the cashier, she'll probably reject it at the coffee shop. The vending machine will reject it, but the original creator won't. In fact, if your bill is so badly damaged that even the bank can't recognize it, you can send it into the treasury. They will like carbon test it. And if it really is a bill, they'll send you a new one. So here's the interesting thing about that. This thing's value was there at its creation, and its value is there till its total destruction, which means no matter what it goes through, no matter who rejects it, no matter who spits on it, steps on it, crumples it up, or treats it irresponsibly, did not change the fact that it still had value. The same is true for you and me. At your very creation, at your birth, you had value. You're going to go through life. You may go through hell so many times your punch card gets full. You may come out the other side and feel like I am not the same person. You may lose a part of yourself, like burying a kid, like feeling like I just ripped off a piece of me, but your value cannot be taken away or destroyed. And if anything, we'll talk more about this in a minute, about how diamonds are actually shaped through that. But I want you to know your value and who you are right here, right now, is priceless. When I learned that, I found hope. I found hope that you said, you know what? I've been through some stuff. And yeah, there are some vending machines out there and people that reject me. But that's okay. I'm not for everybody. But no one can take away my value and nobody can touch it. As I started to go through life, I started to learn more about what my value was. One of those moments for me was probably fast forward several years, right? I got out of the military and I was trying to work in my job, and I woke up on an early morning Tuesday, and my son comes to me and he says, "Hey, Dad, good morning. I'll see you on Saturday." And I'm standing there. It's early in the morning, and I'm looking at my 6-year-old, and he's telling me, "See you Saturday, Dad." I'm like, buddy, it's Tuesday. He's like, no, you're going to be too busy and too tired. Maybe we'll play Saturday if I'm lucky. Arrow to the heart. Like, okay. I was like, I need a new job. I thought the solution to my mental problems and me not being there as a dad was I had a bad job. I actually had a great job, but I quit it and I got a new job, 100% remote, working from home. Well, all I really did was I took all the work stress that I had and I brought it home with me. So now I was 100% physically home, but 0% mentally home. And my wife started to feel it. My kids started to feel it. And due to the economy at the time, my wife's like, hey, let's start a side gig because we need to bring in some extra income. So like, yeah, let's start a business on top of all of this because that's a good idea at the time. And again, it got to the point where it was so bad that me and my wife were sleeping in separate rooms. My kids didn't want to spend time with me, and I was building a life for the people that I loved, but I was losing the people that I loved in the process. And I knew something had to change. So again, my wife made a suggestion because if I just listened to her, a lot of stuff would be better in life. But she said, hey, we should get coaching. I was like, I don't want therapy. I want a solution. I didn't want to sit in a chair again. I was like, no, that was painful last time. She said, no, we should get coaching. I also knew that, coaching is not counseling. That's a new one. That's a new word. I was a little skeptical, but I was like, all right, something has to change. Let's go try it. I wish I could say coaching was like this revolutionary, boom, everything was solved and yay, roses on the other side. It wasn't, but it was hope. Someone literally said, hey, you want to build a great relationship of a marriage and then an awesome business on top of that and build an amazing life? Here's the blueprint. Here's the tools. That's what coaching was. And I was like, oh, I know what to do now. I had hope for the first time. And I met other people who were in the same boat. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. And we began to build. It took a couple of years, but we began to build the life that we loved. And we learned a lot along the way. We invested tens of thousands of dollars more in coaching. I was like, I love this stuff. And we got certified in it ourselves. And at the end of it, we sat down and my wife comes to me. She's like, we have to share this with other people. And I was like, I totally agree. She's like, let's help couples. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we started a business called Kiwi Coaching, where we do exactly that now. And the number one thing that we teach that I think was the most revolutionary thing for me was something called the 3 businesses. This helped me so much with my anxiety and my frustration with other people. There's 3 businesses in life. There's your business, there's other people's business, and there's God's business. Your business, you have full control. You have full control here. It's what you think, feel, do, and create. And what you think will become how you feel. So if you're thinking, oh, my spouse doesn't listen to me and they just won't do this and they're just acting like their mom, because I was there, been there, had that thought process. Well, that becomes how you feel about that person. And then you have these negative thoughts from the negative, or the negative feelings from the negative thoughts you were having. And then when you do that, you start to do negative things towards your spouse. And then you create a negative environment. We call this the crazy cycle, where it's just negativity, and it's like flushing toilet, man. But you have full control there. So you can change the way you're thinking, to change the way you're feeling, to change what you're doing, to change the environment you're creating. You can do this at work and you can do this at home. What you don't have control over, though, is other people's business. Other people's business is what they think, feel, do, and create. I can't control my wife's thoughts. I can influence them, but at the end of the day, I can't control it. I can't control my wife's feelings. I can influence them, but at the end of the day, I can't make my wife feel loved. I can't control what she does. I can't control what the environment she creates. What I can do is I can control the environment I create. So am I creating an environment of love? We had a lady in our coaching program. She went to our website and then got in our coaching program. And we explained that to her. And she goes, I love that sound, by the way, when people get a light bulb. I'm like, yes. What is it? Like, tell me, whatever you're thinking. And she goes, most of my anxiety comes from the fact that I'm trying to make my husband feel loved and I can't do it. And I looked at her and said, yeah, no, you have zero control over his feelings. I said, but you can influence him by controlling the environment. So I said, here's what I want you to do. For the next week, focus on creating an environment of love, not making him feel loved. Focus on the environment you're creating. And then let me know how it goes. So we met, of course, we meet weekly. And she comes back the next week and she's like, Kiwi, you won't believe it. 2 days ago, he came to me and he said, I don't know what you changed, but I feel so loved by you. This is incredible. What are you doing? This is the lady who her husband wasn't in the coaching program. And I was like, you got to try it, dude. Check this out. But she did. She's like, I found hope again. I found the ability that, I can focus on what I can control, what I can do. And then the last thing is the third business is God's business. God's business is everything else outside of what you can control and what other people can control. These are things like natural disasters, quote, acts of God, the timing of results, the blooming of a flower. I can do everything I can to build a garden and to till it and to water it and to fertilize it. I can even plant the seed, but I can't make the seed germinate. I can't make the seed grow, and I can't make the seed bear fruit. But if I create an environment where the seed can do that and God takes care of the rest, then I will bring forth fruit in my environment. So if I'm sowing love in my environment, if I'm sowing purpose with my team and my employees, if I am sowing kindness to my friends, I will reap that down the road.
Wow. And I love the way you explained that, with the triple B's, right? It's not the Better Business Bureau, no, but I don't
3
mean by that
businesses,
one.
yeah.
Wow, that is so amazing. No, and one of the things I teach, I just had a situation happen the other day. Had an individual try to challenge me, and he was like, "Well, I drink because of this, that, and the third," and I'm like, "Oh, I love it when the patient tells me this." And so I threw it back to him. I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm left-handed. And I said, I'm 10% of the global population. Uh, the most of the world does not go my way."
Facts.
Right. I have to learn how to live in a right-handed world here now.
True, true.
Right. Right. And so I can't control what the world does. I can only control what I do. I can influence the world. I can influence the way people think and feel and say and do and things like that. But I can't control what they do. can't control how they feel and think and operate on, at any point of the day. And I love the way you really explain that. And so I have a paper that I have to do tonight. And I think I'm gonna put some of what you said in there.
You go for it. It is not my original thing, so by all means, pass it on.
Wow. So, man, just yeah, and I could see how our perception can influence how we think and do. I used to disagree. One of the co-hosts of our show, unfortunately, he's not here tonight, but I love what he says. I used to go against him, and it wasn't until maybe in the last year I said, you know what, dude, that's what he's saying, right? But one of the things that he used to say is, we can make things come into fruition just from thinking about things.
True.
And I didn't realize the part that I was missing is exactly what you said. If I'm thinking it, I'm going to end up doing it.
Yeah. And another way to put it, someone told me this one, I love this one too, is your thoughts become your actions. Your actions, when repeated, become your habits. Your habits define your character, and your character will determine your destiny. You want a different destiny? Start between your ears.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can sit there and focus on how negative the job is, on how negative the relationship is. And if you're hearing that in the background, that's my dog barking.
You're good. I love dogs.
I think he's agreeing with us.
Like, preach it.
Right, right. But one of the things that we can do is if we learn to control here, right? I can either think this job is a crappy job or this job is an awesome job, right? Even with all the negatives that goes on into every position that is known to man, there's always going to be negatives and goods with everything, right? And so if we walk in to our job with with the attitude of gratitude, the chances of us having a great day is going to be significantly higher.
Hands down. Absolutely. Yeah, when you walk in, and we talk a lot about energy too, is one of the things we do in our coaching. But when you walk in with a negative energy, like this isn't going to go well, your body, and I'm no doctor, but I have read up on this. Your body literally goes, I want to make that true, because your body doesn't know the difference between truth and a lie. So if you wake up and you're like, oh, today's going to suck. It's like every cell in your body's like, sir, yes, sir, today is sucky. Let's do it. Whereas if you wake up in the morning and you're like, you know what, I'm going to have a good day today. I know maybe you have some rough moments, but today's going to be a good day. Every cell in your body goes, yes, sir, today's a good day. And it's just like, let's do this. Whereas when people live in a negative headset, you're just going to look for things that are negative around you, and that's all you're going to notice. Perfect example of this, whether you have psychology background or not, if you are shopping for a car, you're like, hey, I want this car. My wife wanted a minivan. I didn't, but she did. So I was shopping online for minivans. Well, I was kind of looking for the right one. And then every time I got on the road, I automatically noticed all the minivans. It's because what you're thinking about will be what you notice in the world around you. So if you're thinking, let's look for the positive things, let's look for the silver linings, let's look for hope, and let's take every failure as a challenge, well, guess what? You're going to grow. But if you're looking for opportunities to give up, you're just going to find them everywhere.
And no, you're right. You're absolutely right. When I was in my undergrad, I took a social psychology course. And one of the things that we talked about, or we were reading about, was perception, the power and the theory and power of perception. It's interesting because if we think this and we obsess over, and this is all we're thinking of, we're going to notice that more. We're going to notice tendencies, characteristics, behaviors, thoughts, words that go with this perception, right?
Yep.
Yet, if we have this perception over here, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to notice, think, hear, we're going to observe, like we're going to see everything that says this over here is true. And it's almost like being in a sort of a delusion, right? Not denial, because there's a difference there. Denial is, I know I got an issue. I just refuse to see it. Delusion is, I can't see, regardless of all the evidence shown to me, I still can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It is a a psychological and physical inability to accept and or see all evidence to the contrary.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
What's been
So
in Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to pivot, but you go ahead.
Go ahead.
It made me, what you were talking about there made me really think about environments that we create, right? When we create an environment where everyone is stifled, I want everyone to be the same way. This happens a lot in marriages and in teams. So, for example, if you have a boss at work and he's this way, he's real on time for everything, he's real consistent, that's what he loves to do. He starts to say, I need my team to do the same thing. He's trying to make his team just like him. Or a husband and a wife get married. I know I did this to my wife a lot, especially in our early marriage. It's like our first 8 years. And I mean, the second 8 have been much better. But me and my wife, right? I would be like, I'm really good at focus and I love communication and I love talking. And my wife's really quiet. She's good at it too, if I'll shut up long enough for her to say something. But with her, I'm always like, why aren't you like me? Why can't you focus like me? Why can't you do these things? Well, when you do that, I call this the star circle analogy. And somebody else, again, taught me this, and I thought it was phenomenal. So I share it everywhere I go. Imagine a star, not like the stars that we're going to see in the sky tonight, but like a sketch of a star where you get the points. You have the points on the outside of the star. These are the areas where you're really good at what you do. These are areas that energize you. For some people, that may be consistency. For some people, that may be empathy. For other people, that may be focus. For some people, that may be adaptability to go with the flow, right? These are the areas that you love doing. The inside of the circle, the points where they intersect on the inside, these are the areas where you're like, I don't love this. This is not something I'm good at. In fact, this de-energizes me, which may be the same things. Maybe empathy de-energizes you. Maybe focus kills your momentum. And someone telling you to consistently do the same thing over and over, you're like, oh God, please no, right? Well, if your boss, his outside points are, let's just run with consistency. And then he makes his team say, y'all need to be consistent. But that's one of their inside points. Well, what happens when you focus on the things you're not good at? Well, guess what? You'll get better at them. It's the truth. But there's psychological studies with this, with Gallup and stuff. You can focus on what you're not good at and you will get better at it, but at the expense of what you are already good at. And what happens is the inside points grow out and the outside points come in. And your star becomes a circle. And a circle is 360 degrees of boring. Then you have a team that all operates the same. They don't innovate. They don't plan more. They don't come up with new ideas. They all just do the same thing every day over and over. But if you have a manager who does the opposite and he coaches and says, hey, I know you guys are different than me. What are your ideas? What do you bring to the table? And he starts to allow them to operate in the things that they already are naturally good at, or a husband and a wife, and the wife's like, hey, I know you're really good at this. I know I'm not. How can I help you rock it? And vice versa. When your outside points of your star grow bigger, because that's what'll happen when you focus on them, you'll shine brighter. And the best of you, the world will see. And you'll have a team of stars. You'll have a marriage that shines brightly, and all your friends are like, oh my gosh, how'd you get this marriage? It's like, well, we built it. And that is the truth of what you learn. What we teach in our coaching, there's actually 10 points to it. But when you learn to embrace what you're good at and what you love, you give the best of you to the world. And when you give your best to the world, you're the Michelangelo, right? You're the Mozart, you're the Beethoven. You start to create an environment that's unique to you, and everybody else goes, wow, how can I be a part of this? And your confidence becomes attractive.
So you were making me think, because I started off in the field as a counselor, right? As a counselor, of course, but my star was a star of a different kind.
Mhm.
And I was very intellectually driven. I prided myself on having a high IQ, being able to read anything and just about remember everything, right? And everybody around me, all the people that I worked with, they were like, Kev, how do you feel about such and such? Uh, what? Whatever. You know, threw every emotion out the window, right? I always practice strictly from a cognitive therapy perspective, right? Or behavioral perspective. Never, rarely touched on emotions. Uh, and over time, they were like, "Kev, how do you feel? How do you feel? What does that mean?" And somewhere between now and then, right, my star has become inverted, right? And I say that because now it's not all about intellect, but how do you feel? And I teach about emotions now versus back then I didn't. I pure
Mhm.
hated emotions. I've ran from every emotion in the book, even personally, right? So it's helped me to become very, I'm gonna say intellectually driven, but on an emotional perspective, comfortable with emotions, not afraid to share emotions, not afraid to discuss them, and I feel comfortable there. Like this is where I'm thriving at right now,
Yep.
and
You
so
found your passion.
do it.
You found your passion.
No, 100%. Absolutely. It has actually increased my passion. And so I love that you share that because as you were sharing, I'm like, this dude knows me. This dude knows me.
For those of you listening, we met like 45 minutes ago.
Right. Right, right. Oh, Lord. So let me ask you something then.
Mhm.
Military experience, a lot of grief, a lot of trauma, a lot of things like that. Uh, Theory posits, and I'm asking you this, right? Because it's based on theory, not and theory can be either right or wrong, and
Sure,
I
it's a
think you
theory.
know that.
Yeah,
But theory posits the more you have of the more complex trauma you have, the more of traumatic situations that you have that occur, the more likely you are to contemplate dying by suicide. My question to you is does the theory fit, and what was your experience with that?
so I've struggled with suicide throughout my life. 2017 was one of those. I got to the end of the year and I'm like, I'm no good to anybody. I'm not worth being around. Um, real moment here. I got to the point I put a gun to my head and I pulled the trigger. The gun was empty. The hammer rattled against my head. And what a wake up call that was. Ever since then, I realized that had I not been here, I wouldn't be telling my story right here, right now on this podcast. And someone's listening right now that needed to hear what I had to share. And I would have robbed you of that moment had the gun been loaded. And so, no matter how low you get in life, and yeah, hard trauma brings hard thoughts. I agree with the theory. But I also know this: the greater the pressure, the stronger the soul. And so, for me, one of the key things that I teach, I speak on is called You Are Diamond. And it goes like this: the pressure that you've been through feels like it would break you. The heat that you've endured, whether by people's comments or family rejection or job rejection, the vending machines of life spitting you back out saying, no, you're not worth my time. It feels like it burns you. The cuts that you have endured, like burying your own daughter or losing a job or failing that midterm, the things that you're like, God, why? I feel like I lost a piece of myself in this process. Those are the same formula to make a diamond. The pressure doesn't break you, it builds you. The heat doesn't burn you, it forges you. And the cuts don't destroy you, they shape you. And every single diamond, not synthetic, but every single natural diamond is unique. Your strengths that we teach in our coaching are unique to you. Nobody else in the world has them. It's just you. Your story is unique to you. Nobody else has it. It's you. And here's the thing though, all that you've been through has shaped you into something beautiful, valuable, and unbreakable. You are diamond. But a diamond in a dark room is nothing more than a sharp rock. You have to bring the diamond into the light for the world to see its brilliance. One day you will have the opportunity to share your story of the hell that you have been through, the mental health that you have fought through, and the victory that you're still here. And that story is the brilliance that will inspire other people to keep going, that will inspire other people to say, you know what, Kiwi was talking about it. I heard this guy, he went through suicide and he came out the other side. Now he's helping other people do it. I can do it if he can do it. Trust me. If I can do it, you can do it. I'll get to a story about boot camp and I'll end with that. But I tell you what, it does take that courage to step into the light, share your story with a friend, share when you're struggling, ask for help, because God's not done with you yet. Until you shine like a diamond, he ain't done. And no matter what you go through, you'll go through phases of pressure and heat and cuts. And when I do that, I make that joke. I've been through hell so many times, my next time is free with my punch card. But here's the truth. I know I've already been through pressure. I know I've already been through the heat, and I know I've already endured the cuts. You can't break me. I am unbreakable. All I know is when I come out the other side, I'm just going to be stronger. I'm going to shine brighter, and I'm going to look better. So no matter where you're at in that journey, know this. You are diamond, and no one can take that away from you.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And thank you for sharing that, because I think it's, as we said earlier when we first opened, we try to create a space where people can share their stories, whether professional, personal, what have you. But it's also for people who feel like they don't have a voice, where I am unique. Because as yourself, right, when you struggle with yours, uh, I had a suicide attempt too. Mine was medication induced. Nobody saw it coming. The providers didn't see it coming. None of that. Nobody ever saw it coming. And in the midst of, I'm sitting there just angry, I'm agitated, I'm mad, like, in my first instinct, grab my piece. And I literally had like 0.0001 of a second where this thought had come in from out of nowhere and said, empty it. And I literally grabbed it and emptied it. And yeah, I mean, it was a close call myself. And so eh, I share that because I think it's important for people to understand, like, hey, it is okay if you have a thought. I mean, it doesn't matter what that thought is. What matters to most is, am I that diamond who's pushing myself to be in the light?
Mm-hmm.
That is the most important thing to remember.
Yep. Yeah. So I know we're coming up on time. I'll leave you with this. When I was in boot camp, we went through a bunch of different tests, and that's what they do in boot camp to try to make you into a sailor, soldier, whatever. I was in the Navy, and they put us in this room towards the end of boot camp, and it's like a big steel room where it's like 12 feet by 12 feet, and maybe a little longer than that, and, not concrete, but steel everywhere. And there's a door that leads to another room that's pretty much identical. Right next to the door is this pipe, about a 4-inch pipe, and it's got a big old gash in it, and it's just spewing water in our room. And our room is filling up. And the proctor says, here's the deal. You see those shelves over there? They're all about waist high, and they're full of like concrete ammo casings. They're about 50 pounds a piece, and there's over 100 of them. And she says, those can't get submerged by water. If they get submerged by water, they explode and you die. Obviously, they're concrete. They're not really going to kill us. But the idea is that we need those not to get submerged by water. And so I'm in charge of this test. Again, this is where I'm not super smart. I was really strong in boot camp. I wasn't smart in boot camp. And so they said, what are you going to do? Well, my first thought was stop the water. Stop where this is coming from. So we're like putting our hands on it. We're trying to stop the water. We're looking for a shutoff switch. We checked the whole room. No shutoff switch. We found some C-clamps, though, which are like these clamps that go on a pipe. And so we're putting the C-clamps on, trying to shut it. The C-clamps were either too big or too small. They just didn't fit. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, we move the ammo. And so there were shelves in the other room. We figured if we get all the ammo in the other room, we can shut the door, the room can flood, but we're safe. So there's like 6 of us. And you know how like hot potato when you're passing stuff? There's not quite enough of us to make a nice line. So we're sort of tossing these things to each other. And that's really scary, by the way. Like, here's 50 pounds of concrete. And so we're tossing them to each other. We're soaking wet. And then on top of that, the lights start to flicker. So now it's the scariest game of hot potato you've ever played. And so we're tossing these things and the lights are shutting off. So it's like red light, green light, red light, green light with these things. And we're trying to do it. The water's up to our shins and we're moving and we're moving. And we were determined. We said, you know what? We're going to get through this. We're not going to quit. We're going to pass this test. And we put our backs into it. Well, guess what? Water got about thigh high, and we had moved all the ammo. So we go into the other room. The proctor follows us in. We're soaking wet. The ammo's all stacked up. And she's like, wow, I have done this test for so many years, and I've never seen anybody move all the ammo. I've never seen anyone with such energy. I've never seen anyone with such passion. Like, wow. She was just shocked. And then she shuts the door in the other room, and there's the shutoff switch. And she shuts off the water. The switch was there the whole time. I'm not making that up. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's like, what? We had passion. We had energy. We had brawn. We had no brain. The reason we're the only ones who ever moved all the ammo, we're the only ones dumb enough not to find the switch. The reason I tell you this is sometimes in life, you're like, I'm going to get through this mental health crisis. I'm going to push through it. I'm going to push through this job. I'm going to make my marriage better. I'm going to do it. And you got that determination and that energy. And you can put it to struggling and pushing through. Or you can get that person in your life who knows where the shutoff switch is. So you can put all that energy and effort into something more creative than burning yourself out. And so that's what I do. I help people find hope, shut off all of that stress, all of that anxiety, so that they can know the tools that they need to spend the energy that they have building the future they want.
Well, man, I was losing it on that one. I was losing it.
Yeah. In my whole unit, too, I'm the only one that didn't find the switch as well.
Hey, I'd have probably never found a switch either myself. I mean, listen, maybe at 19 I would have, but today in 2025, I mean, absolutely not. Look, I was dealing with some medical stuff back in the beginning of the year. I'm sitting there working on my computer at work and see this little black thing just when I didn't see nothing, okay? I didn't see nothing. And I'm working a little bit more, see a little blue thing just and so mind you, okay, I'm 30. I'm mid 30s, right? Mid 30s. And so I in the middle of sessions, I mean, I'm still seeing the same things, right? And I'm turning as a patient's looking at me, right? I'm like, the hell? Like, I was losing my mind. And so I scheduled an emergency eye doctor visit and go through the whole test and all that. And she walks in, she was like, well, congratulations, Kev. I'm getting older. And I'm like, oh, you mother, really, doc? Really, doc? You really had to go there, you know? And so that's why I said in 2025, I would have never found it. 100% not. No, absolutely not. I'd have been sitting there stressing like y'all would have. Oh my God. Oh my God.
The look on her face, too, when she got done shutting it off, she looks back at us and she's like, you guys are really strong, aren't you? Like, yeah, we are. We do
Well,
everything the hard way.
right. Listen, the therapist asks me all the time, Kev, how do you learn the damn hard way?
Fast.
Right. Right. And pain is a touchstone of growth. That's what I typically try to teach patients is, hey, it's okay to go through pain. It's okay to suffer. It's okay to go through things, have depression and all of this stuff. What matters is, that I don't act on things, right? It's, allowing myself to be comfortable with what I'm thinking and feeling. And then people try to challenge me all the time and they'll say, well, I'm a bad person because of this, that, and the third. And I'm like, okay, let's do a role play here. If anybody who's ever can identify with the analogy, please raise your hand, keep it held. And so I ask them, like, if you've ever thought about putting somebody's car on flat, raise your hand. The whole room will raise their hand, right? I'm like, okay, cool. It's a natural human response to
You're not alone.
it's all right. you ain't alone.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to really the essence of showing us that we are valuable regardless of. I mean, doesn't matter what we go through, how we feel, what we think. Our value it's still there. It's not taken away from us. It's no. I
Yep.
think it's how we perceive that value.
True. When you perceive something too of value, you treat it differently. Think about a kid who gets, a glass vase and they're playing with it and they break it. They didn't understand that it was fragile, it was valuable. But when you're given a gift of high honor, you put it in a place of honor, you treat it that way. When you see yourself as I have value, you start to treat yourself differently. Coolest part of that, we had another guy in our coaching program, and he's like, when I started treating myself differently, I started to see myself with value. By default, I started seeing other people who had value too, and I started treating them differently. And my team started respecting me more. I was like, yeah, it was just a mindset shift of I have value, they have value. Together, we have incredible value.
Yeah, and no, you're right, and this is what I love to question folks on, especially my patients. I always question them on the fact that we beat ourselves up too much, right? We dehumanize ourselves, regardless of whether we think we do or not. We actually do. So when are you going to start humanizing yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, no, I mean think about being part of the human species. We always want to be a part of the herd, right? HERD herd. For anybody who is listening to us and not watching us, um, we have this innate desire to be a part of something greater than I, right? Bigger
Mhm.
than I alone. And when we dehumanize one another or even ourselves, we are dehurting ourselves. So that's my question to everybody. What are you going to do to start humanizing yourself?
Yeah.
That is my question. So we are pushing a little close to the end of time. I mean, man, we can keep going and going. I'm not worried about time here.
Facts. I do have another meeting I got to get to, but yes, no, I'm
Yeah,
thoroughly enjoying this time. Thank you so much for having me.
yeah, no, I appreciate it, and of course, you're more than welcome to come back on, 100%. So let me do ask you this though.
Yeah.
Three questions, three of the most important questions you're probably going to be asked today. Um, if people want to book you, whether it's for public speaking, coaching, doing a podcast, how can they contact you? Where can they find you at?
The best place to get a hold of me if you want to just send a direct message to me is through Facebook. You can send me a DM. I respond to those every single day. Several people too, they go to my website and you can actually get a free coaching session with me there as well. And so, but if you want to book me, just DM me directly. If you're wanting to work with me and you're like, hey, I'm interested in your coaching program, go book a free session at my website, which is www.davidandalecsiskiwi.org.
All right. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Next question. If there's anybody who's watching this or listening to it, what is one thing you hope they take away?
If you could take away one thing from this, take away this. You are diamond. And if you can't see that in yourself yet, reach out to that person that knows how to shut off those negative thoughts and help you in that moment, whether that's me, another therapist, or a friend, because you are diamond. You are worthwhile. You are beautiful. You are valuable. You are unbreakable. And sometimes we can't see it in ourselves, but you're not alone. So reach out to the person who can help you find that.
Wow. And last but not least, what is your call to action for people?
My call to action for you is this: your story, your passion, what you're building in life, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a school, whether it's teaching in kids or in your job or where you're at, you're passionate about it for a reason. And the world needs you in it. So every day that you stay is another day the world gets to hear your story and be given hope from your brilliance. So stay another day.
I couldn't have said anything better than that. Wow. Mr. Kiwi, it's been an absolute privilege and honor. And looking forward to you coming back on 100%.
Yeah, let's
Definitely
do
would
it.
love to. Dude, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. Listen, we do this all the time, man, and I enjoy everybody that we meet, that we work with. I mean, it is a phenomenal experience to have people on here.